धर्मक्षेत्रे कुरुक्षेत्रे समवेतायुयुत्सवः।
ओम शानं भवतु शानं गुणक्तु सह वीर्यैः करवावहै तेजस्विनाधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै. Let us sit down, study and discuss together. Through discussion, let us sharpen each other's intellect. May we not bear any ill will to each other. Let peace, peace, peace prevail. Om Shanti, Om Shanti, Om Shanti Rahi.
Yeah, we are in chapter 6, Atma Sanjayam Yoga. Some people call it Dhyan Yoga. We talked about Dhyan before, and Krishna tells techniques as well about meditation or Dhyan, how to do this Atma Sanjayam. And Arjuna asked probably the most common question anybody has about meditation. It's about man, which is the mind. And I'll read the verse itself, the one that is kind of Chanchalam Himanah Krishna Pramathi Balavadirham Tasyaham Nigraham Manye Vayo Riva Sudushkaram. So I think this is really a phenomenal verse because it kind of describes mind, so we need to know about whatever we are dealing with. Like if we know about water, that it's liquid, it can flow, it can, create pressure, or, flow can create destruction, but flow can be controlled and we can have power generation from that as well. So to know about things is a good idea. I think this is one of the best descriptions I have come across, man or mind.
Yeah, it's a very oft quoted verse.
Yeah.
Basically, it talks about mind, where our emotions are, and how fickle-minded it is. I mean, fickle it is, jumping from one to another with uncontrolled emotions. Okay, and yet it is a very, very strong force.
Yeah.
This is the most important point he describes about the mind. It's a balavat. He uses the word balavat. How it drags us towards where it wants to go.
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, there are 4 descriptions, well, in a way 5, but 4 is the important one, chanchalam, which is like restless.
Yeah.
So mind is restless. Then he said pramathi, which is like a storm. It can raise a storm inside you. Balavad dirham, bal, it is strong. Dirham means it can be stubborn.
Yes.
So those are the thing. And then he says nigraham, it's hard to control it.
Yes.
So these are the 5 important points that he mentions here. And he says that in trying to capture or contain air with your fist, the air will leak away. Some people have given this a story, it's like, I don't really like it, but I will tell this story anyway. The monkey, that it's like a monkey who is drunk, has been bitten by a scorpion and is being chased by a tiger. So that is a description. It's like about monkey. It's not just monkey, but with all those things, monkey has to be running around, without any control, or doesn't know where to go.
Yeah. Actually, there are a couple of little things. One is the verse from Gita, which tells it's like a piece of cloud that is torn apart from the bigger one, and it floats hither and thither as the wind takes it. The other one is mostly from Buddhist thing, that if the water is not quiet and there's a lot of waves and all those things coming, you don't see your image or the reflection in there. When the water is calm, you can see the reflection better. And basically that's what they are talking about. It's a disturbed mind which doesn't see the things as they are.
Yeah.
But it is very, very strong. So then the question comes, Arjun says, how to control it? And Krishna's nice talk, practice, practice, practice.
Yeah. No, I mean, definitely. But before we go there, I like to, bring this relationship that we talked about. So what is our relationship with the mind? I mean, that is an important part. If we start calling it names like monkey mind, we are this mind is going to be with us all the time. Is it a good way to kind of address your mind that, my mind is a monkey mind? It's like I'm calling names to something that is going to be with me all the time. So could you have a partner relationship that it is a partner and we have to control it? It's like it's a partner with a quirk rather than calling it names or describing it as an adversary. I think it's better to have a kind of friendship with a, it's like we have friends, we all have quirks, so the same way my mind has some quirks, but it's mine. And it's it's a friend or it's a partner. That kind of attitude, I feel, is a better way to have a relationship with your mind.
Yeah, this mind is basically our psychological part of psychological constitution.
Yeah.
It is an integral part. Now, its innate nature is described as chanchalam.
Yeah.
Okay, it's fickle-minded and it's very strong, the attributes that you talked about.
Yeah. Restless.
Though it is our constituent, these are the attributes. So how do we control it? Practice, practice, practice. That's what he says.
Yeah. Right. So yeah, I mean, first of all, the relationship, how do you control it is the second part, which
Yes.
yeah, I mean, Krishna tells that. I mean, the verse, and Krishna totally agrees with Arjun. So the description Arjun has, Krishna doesn't add anything to that. Asanshayam Mahabaho. There is no doubt. Mahabaho, of course, is another name for Arjun. And Mano Durnigraham Chalam. It's hard to control the mind. Abhyasena tu kaunteya vairagyena cha grihyate. So there are two things Krishna says, practice. And what do you practice? Non-attachment, vairagya. So all these thoughts are there. And this is the beauty of the technique of meditation. How do you relate to your thoughts? I mean, thoughts want to hijack you when you want to meditate. They will keep coming. They're not going to go away. But if you can just witness, that's what everybody tells you. Just observe them as they are. But Krishna says vairagya. So basically, stay non-attached. So there is a little gap between you and the thoughts. And that gap is the important part. Can you start looking at that gap? And once you see that gap between you and thoughts, so you are not your thoughts. Because many of us think, relate or describe ourselves as our thoughts.
In our daily lives, I think very, very important it's the self-knowledge that we learned all this previous chapter. This self-knowledge helps us to separate ourselves from this strong fickleness of mind.
Yeah.
Okay. So we did learn that from second chapter onward, there are various things he talked about. And in the later part, I would like to enumerate them, kind of summarize those self-knowledge, what we have learned. And that one helps us towards this vairagya, the non-attachment, okay, and the rightful actions.
Yeah. I mean, we are coming at the other end of the career, right? Where we are slowing down or retiring. And you remember the passion we had when we were kind of, getting through our career and becoming a better surgeon, learning this technique or robotics or your vascular surgery techniques. Somehow we became so much like, we are doctors, and not we are only doctors. We specialize in certain fields. And now, when it is kind of, now who am I? Is, yes, we can say we're a retired surgeon or ex-surgeon, but we somehow start to think that, it's like our name and the degree or diploma is me. I mean, that gap is, we are starting to see that gap now. But if we can see the gap at any stage of our life, that's what Krishna is talking about, right?
Yeah. I will enumerate one of my experiences where I learned this. And I was a house surgeon on a medical ward, and there was a patient with heart valve narrowing.
Yeah,
In those days, of course, in India, there was no cardiac surgery, anything,
right.
and cardiac surgery was in infancy here even.
Yeah,
So this patient had massive blood vomiting, and then he died. He was a villager. And when he died, after writing his death certificate, I went back to the house surgeon's room and I opened up the medicine book. And the first thing I started looking at, where did I make the mistake?
yeah,
Okay. I didn't have the global view. I was taking it as me, my failure.
yeah,
Okay. On the other hand, if I had a global view, I knew that in an advanced stage, there was no treatment available,
yeah,
death was imminent, and my job would have been much better to console the family who were crying their hearts out. So the question is how the perspective changed when I was thinking of I rather than my patient.
yeah,
Later on, this was an eye opener for me later on.
yeah.
Okay, and I always recount that. So what you are talking about, this ego desire complex in the and past conditioning of the mind, which creates perception about our own selves, is sometimes very, very faulty. It takes us away from the global view or the reality.
So that's why I think Krishna puts that practice part as well. So
Exactly.
even if you read somewhere that there is a gap between you and your thoughts, you and your credentials, or you and whatever, all the things that you have built on your shoulder, the achievements and everything. I'm not saying you should not achieve. I mean, of course, we are competitive. We will stay competitive, but still, that little gap, I think, is important to realize. And the more you practice, the more you can see that gap. And it's not that your life becomes any less enjoyable. I think life becomes more enjoyable because then you are not carried away by emotions.
That's right.
That's,
You see, you have often heard this statement that if you get illuminated or you understand, enlightened, the environment around you is not going to change, but you start looking at it from different perspectives.
yeah,
And that's exactly happens to the enlightenment or the self-knowledge.
yeah,
So in my how I feel, it in that gap is the self-knowledge, which leads you to non-attachment and vairagya.
yeah. No, that's perfectly well said. So I'll take it to the next step, because Krishna says, Ashanshayam Mahabaho, Manodur Nigraham Chalam. It is, he agrees with Arjun that it's difficult to control, but the next verse, he says, it is important to control. You know, so those who don't control have one way of life. those who can control, that's the yogi life. So
Yes.
he can basically dictate what he does. He
Yes.
chooses what to do. So it is his choice how he lives, and it is his decision what he does. Instead of one kind of wandering you and doing things for the what you say ego's desire complex.
The yogic meditation, being in yoga means being in union. This yogic meditation is better than the ascetic and the ritualistic. Okay.
Yeah, we are coming to that. I
Yeah.
think that's
Yes.
toward.
So basically, he's talking about in yogic meditation, you develop non-attachment. Okay. All those things that we do, if there is attachment of ego and desire, you are shackled.
Yeah. But you remember, I mean, you have been saying this hierarchy. The If your money is controlling, that's the lowest control. The buddhi controlling or you controlling um, is a different way. So your life changes, your control changes, your life changes, your perspective changes.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, and that's a very important takeaway for me, and I think for everybody who is listening, that controlling man is important because your life changes. If you let man run your life, it will be that monkey description we gave. Um, so, but even that monkey description is not what I want to follow. I would rather follow man
Yeah.
as my partner while I'm working on it and in controlling it.
Yeah. What you just said about man, at that level, we have all the sensory stimuli coming to the man.
You're right.
Okay. And there is the perception.
Yeah.
Man has a perception. Okay.
Yeah.
And perception involves ego, desire, expectation, past conditioning.
Yeah.
And at the same time, at that level is the prevalent gunas or the attribute.
Yeah.
So man works on that part. But what you just said, the intellect or the higher part, which is discriminating part, that is what guides us to the right way.
Yeah.
If we eliminate that, then we go in the wrong way.
Yeah. No. It's like we also talked about the desire pathway. If you are at the desire pathway, money is controlling most of the time. You have one way of life, sakam karma and all that, which is, many of us live there. Or even if we try to transcend that, sometimes we come back and live there. So yeah, desire pathway, and then the next pathway is where the buddhi and you and it's like intrinsic pathway that we talked about before. Or the third one was working for Paramatma. So that also, so all those three pathways kind of transcend, can be looked upon as what Krishna is saying here as well. At the level of man, you are just living the desire pathway, and you are, doing things because your mind says so. And many people just do that and live their whole life like that. Then the next level is where you see better, and the niyatam kuru karmatvam. And then more of buddhi is kind of playing part. And then the ultimate one is you're working for the universe, for the good of others.
Yes.
So
Yes. Uh, Basically, in yogic action,
yeah,
yes, you do achieve the results because you are fully focused.
yeah,
But the ultimate aim in yogic action is liberation,
yeah,
moksha, and vairagam, non-attachment. So, so that is the difference. As we ascend in this pathway of action desire, what you just explained, that is the ultimate. That's where we are liberated.
yeah. So continuing on, I mean, I always thought that Chanchalam Himana Krishna is the ultimate question Arjun asks. But I think the next set of questions that Arjun asks is even more intriguing and important in my view.
Yes.
Because, as we said, there are three pathways. Sometimes we are, in the highest pathway in our life. Sometimes we are in the middle path. Sometimes, we are working on our desire level. So, what happens to all the good things we are doing? And that's the question Arjuna asks. That does it just get scattered like the clouds in the sky? Or what happens? What is the benefit of me trying to do something and not getting moksha? So, so I have lost on my desire, all the things I could have done, and and now I've tried everything and I didn't get there. So, is all the effort wasted? What a beautiful question. I mean,
Yeah, that's
it's
a
such a practical question.
yes. And that's a beautiful thing. And it is even more beautiful is that how he explains.
Oh, yeah. Krishna's explanation
That
is
is
very meticulous.
that's a beautiful explanation. So basically, it is in summary, he says good work or action that one does is
Yeah.
never wasted.
Yeah.
Okay,
Artha naiveham namutra vinashastasya vidyate. It is never destroyed.
it's never destroyed. So he talks about rebirth. Okay,
Yeah.
and the other, what I get, a good work is never wasted. You create an environment, and even if you falter or did not achieve, rather, then the environment becomes such which become conducive to your continued effort towards liberation.
Yeah. Perfect. Yeah. No, I think you made a great point. So what he says, I think one is that it's never wasted. But what happens? So if you all the good karmas, kind of sanchit, is all accumulated, and you can go to, for a lack of any other word, like heaven or some place where you can enjoy. It's like you have some cash in your hand, go and spend. So once all the sanchit karma or the good karmas are spent, then you come back. But the beautiful thing is that when you come back, you take birth in a place, time, and a family that is conducive for your growth.
Yeah.
And this one, I have a friend, good friend, very good friend, who keeps talking about you should plan for next life. And I think there is some merit to that because we plan everything. We plan our vacation, we plan our career. But when it comes to what happens after death, we leave it to, it's like some unknown factors.
Basically, it is these good works or the good action or the rightful action create an environment
Yeah.
where we can thrive even later. Even if we get little diverted, we still get into that environment where we can still strive for the liberation, non-attachment, self-knowledge, much easier way. So it is never wasted. It's kind of a little bank balance to fall back
Yeah.
upon.
So bank balance, and once the bank balance is gone, you come back.
And I
You
talk.
come back to a situation where you can thrive. He also says that such a person works harder next time.
Yes, because yeah, I mean, I have got a funny analogy about it. It's
Yeah.
like a snake ladder. Remember, we used to play that in the
Yeah.
in the in our childhood. You
Yeah.
go there, and in some of the houses, you there is a snake that swallows you, and you slide down, way down. Okay,
Yeah.
and then you keep on working again, going from a little square to square, and then you find a ladder and you go up. So this good work will be you will be you and I will be swallowed by a smaller snake, we will lose lesser number of squares, and our ladder will be very much nicer to get up again.
I never liked the one where you are almost there, and there's this
And
big one,
I remember the snake's head used to be on 99.
somewhere.
Right there. I still remember
Yeah. So, but it's not all chance. I mean,
no,
Krishna is saying that it's, yes, a snake and ladder is a good analogy, but that there is a lot of chance there. But
no.
and even if there is a chance, you will skip that. You know that. So yeah, I like the whole idea of planning for the next life. And you start from the level that you have already reached. That's another point. So you don't always start from zero, ground zero. So your level is here, you stay there. So if like some people talk about Buddha or Shankaracharya, whether they were avatar or whether they had already reached that far and there was only this much left. So there is a lot of stories about it's like mystic stories, you can call it, because this is the field that science has not penetrated yet. And probably science doesn't know at the moment how to study that either.
That's
But I think as we evolve, um, this it won't be a mystery anymore. Once science knows, then it becomes kind of a scientific. But before that, still we know that we die, and we know that something happens after our death, and it's good thing to plan about it. And that's why I wrote that book, Journey from Life to Life. It doesn't have all the answers, but it kind of brings you to the point it's worth planning, worth thinking about, um, amongst many other things that we plan. So Krishna keeps going there, and it's like comes to a point where he has that thing that you were saying, and he has this ladders again. I mean, Gita has hierarchies, and so everybody is not at the same level. So he says tapasvi, bhyodhiko yogi. So the tapasvi is somebody who is doing the rituals and follows certain discipline, very strict discipline. But yogi is above that. That's what he says. He puts yogi even above the uh,
yes,
jnani people. And so those people who are still working but doing niskam karma, tasmad yogi bhavarjuna. You should become that yogi, Arjun.
yes. Actually, the ascetic, the ritualistic worship with desire,
Yeah,
okay, the knowledgeable, but not acting upon it,
yeah,
okay.
yeah,
All these things, all these individuals are still little bit behind the yogi involved in action with that self knowledge.
yeah.
And that's why he can be non attached, yet function fully focused. And in yoga, that means in union with God. He is not the doer, he is the agent of the deed, he is the human component of the world order.
Sometimes when you read Gita, you feel like there are compartments, it's like tapasvi, jnani, yogi. But a yogi can be jnani too.
Yes.
So there
I,
could be all components or different levels of components. So yogi can be a working person, can be, intellectual, or can be top, he may still do practice certain disciplines. So, yes, it's good to know that this is where I want to, this is my peak. Um,
remember when Krishna was talking about renunciation and being in action.
Yeah.
So the question in this part of the Bhagavad Gita, he talks about mainly about the yoga of action.
Yeah.
Okay, and this is the beautiful part of Gita, that the yoga of action gives us the same kind of enlightenment.
Yeah.
Okay, and how to attain that state, he talks about in step by step, that he from second chapter onward to now.
Yeah. Right. He starts Nishkam Karm Yogi.
That's right.
That's basically his mantra. It's like a non-attached, action. And then, of course, all these questions that Arjun brings for us gives us the answers as well. The last shloka is I love it. Yogi namapi sarvesham madgate nantaratmata shraddhavan bhajate yo mam same yukta tamo mata. Come into my umbrella.
That is the one who is basically in union. He has taken refuge in God, and therefore they are non-attached. Their actions are focused. Okay, and this kind of reverence or taking refuge in God is the best modality to get rid of our ego desire, which is avidya or aparavidya, which is non-knowledge.
Yeah, but this is the top level of the driving
Exactly.
force that we talked about, right?
Yes.
But the beauty is sometimes we feel like this is the easiest path to surrender. It's not the easiest path. First of all, we don't want to surrender because by surrender, we feel like we are losing ourselves, losing our value. We are so important. How can we surrender to somebody? It's like that feeling of, it's like losing ourselves. But we are only losing our desire and ego.
Can I just interject at this point?
Yeah,
Okay.
sure.
Because as you said, we are losing ourselves. Okay. Once again, we are identifying with our name, form, and this body.
Ego, desire.
All these are impermanent. Therefore, asat,
Yeah,
as it describes. Okay. So the when we think ourselves as the doer, and that important, the duality comes. There is God or Brahman, and there is me in this name, form, and I.
yeah,
But this is the beauty of Vedanta compared to other world religion, that it says that this Atman, the soul within us, the consciousness within us, is a spark, nothing but a spark from that universal life energy. Therefore, our innate nature of our Atman is divine. It only gets covered by ego desire complex and past conditioning and the prevalent gunas or the attributes.
yeah.
Okay. So once we move that, then we realize who we are. We are able to do focused, non-attached actions,
Right.
and
So,
in union with God.
so yeah. So basically, back to what you are saying, what we are losing is that image that we have of ourselves,
Yes,
not the
exactly.
real, spark that you said, right? The
Yes.
spark is part of that cosmos, right?
That is the Om Purnamada Purnamidam. This
Right.
is full, that is full. So
Yeah.
we are all that.
So what we are losing is just all the, asat or all those things that we have decorated ourselves with.
Exactly.
So that's, the surrendering is difficult. Then once you surrender, we feel like once we surrender, what will be my driving force? I won't want to do anything. But if you look at those people who have surrendered, they are the highest achievers. Shankaracharya died in his 30s. Even so, Jesus Christ in his 30s. Even our times, Vivekananda, what, 50s?
No, 39.
39. So, all these people, and look at how much they have achieved in their period. Osho, in his 50s, 56, I think. So, people have really achieved so much. So there is a driving force. So once you surrender to the Supreme, um, and here it's Krishna. Krishna is not going to let you go without doing. I mean, Arjun has performed so much in Mahabharata. He was always in action. Misunderstanding to think that if you surrender, you are losing yourself. If you surrender, there is no driving force. If you surrender, you won't achieve something.
I think this is the most important part of the surrender, or rather being in union with God that we talk about
Yeah.
in yoga. The fear, anxiety part of the emotions is all gone. Your full focus is on the work. Why
So you
should
are
you
more
work?
efficient,
More
perform.
efficient, you are mentally all focused, okay? You don't have any fear, any doubt, asanshaya, okay?
Yeah.
And that's how one functions, and that's why they become more productive. They have a global view of the whole thing. They are not myopic in their view, okay?
Yeah.
So that's why function in a non-attached, well-informed global attitude, because they are part of the maintenance of world order. They have got a much bigger purpose, so they can see the problem in a much bigger aspect.
Yeah. And the final point, Amitabh, I'd like to make, this, we feel like Krishna has said this to Arjun. Does it apply to me? Because Krishna is not around. It's not like that. What he is talking, when he says that, it's like a Shraddhavan bhajate yo mam, he's not talking him as a person in that form. So it does apply to us. If we, surrender to any, super personality or hero figure, high efficient, high functioning person, or God, or whoever we take, and it may be Krishna, we do that. He is saying that this is universal. It transcends time and space. So it applies to you and me as much as it applied to Arjun. Do you see that way?
Yes, everybody. It's an universal statement.
Yeah, right.
Okay. And that's how I look at it.
Yeah.
This chapter is one of my most favorite chapter because, of course, it is Atma Sanjam and self-control.
Yes, right. Yeah.
Yeah, I have told you many times this is, and I tried to summarize this self-knowledge,
Yeah.
all these chapters that we read.
Yeah.
So this self-knowledge is in that gap that you talked about between
Right.
thought, okay? And that's where, when you look at it, we can separate ourselves from the thoughts that come and go. It's a beautiful thing. If you do not have anything else to mention at this point, I would like to summarize that self-knowledge, if that's okay with you.
Sure.
Okay, I have written it down, so I'll read it. Towards the self-control, the most important part is self-knowledge. What is self-knowledge? Okay, so as I mentioned, number one, Atman is just a spark or a miniature of that Brahman. Om Purnamida Purnamidam, we talked about that. Both have affinity towards each other, and both are indestructible, the Atman and the Brahman.
Right.
Okay, therefore, they are Sat. Okay, anything that is made of Prakriti, natural elements, okay, they are all perishable because they go through three stages: a beginning, a middle, sustenance, and then destruction. This Srishti, Sthiti, Pralaya.
Yeah.
And Prakriti is, or the nature is always impermanent because it gets destroyed at the end. It is also guided by the three attributes, okay, Sattva, Raja, and Tamas that we discussed about before.
Yeah.
Okay. Our actions are often guided by perception and the gunas, okay, at a lower level. Brahman, or the God, has set up this universe in different order and cycles. A cosmological natural events are part of the order, and we are the human component to maintain this world order. And that's why we should function in that way. Ego, desire, and conditioning create perception. It creates misconception of I, me, mine, gives us false sense of doer rather than I'm agent of the deed.
Yeah.
So it immediately creates a distance between me from the Brahman or God.
Yeah.
Okay. The easiest way to conquer this ego, desire, and perception to think that we are agent of the deed rather than the doer. And we do this, doing all these duties, psychologically always being in union with God. And that becomes yogic action, the action of a yogi. Okay. This yogic action or attitude leads to focus, non-attached action with calmness of mind without any emotional upheaval. It is also important, therefore, we know what is our relationship with Brahman, okay? What is the world order and how we should function. Other thing we just touched upon, all these worshipping or practices which has got desire as the main component are lesser than the yogic action, which is based on non-attachment and focused action.
Yeah.
And because this leads to liberation. The other two would not lead to liberation. There will be some good work, but it would not lead to liberation. So this self-knowledge that we learn, who am I? What is my relationship with God or Atman Brahman relationship? Why we should be non-attached? What is yogic action? These things help us to do the action or perform the action as a yogi.
Right.
Now, I did talk to you about how from sense object, the stepwise it happens, transcend into action. Okay. So when I say sense object, can be an innate object, a living object, or an ideology principle, or whatever it is. We absorb it with our sense organs. Okay. And these stimuli go to our cognitive process where there is mind and there is the intellect. Okay. At level of mind is always working the perception, which is ego, desire, and past conditioning, and the prevalent gunas at that point. Then we modulate it with the intellect and this, rather than self-knowledge, the intellect with self-knowledge. Okay. If we function at the level of non-discrimination, then our actions become wrong action. On the other hand, if we function with that self-knowledge, that leads us to rightful action. And then either bad action because we did not take care of that uh, intellect, it turns into bad action through our organs of action. But on the other hand, if we do the action with self-knowledge, it turns into rightful action through our organs of action. So that's how I formulated, I should not say I formulated, that's how I put the structure for easier understanding.
Sure. Yeah. So no, that's a good kind of a synopsis or summary of all the chapters we have done. But yes, continuing on to our sixth chapter, that we have, one thing I like about, this last verse that Krishna talks about is like, to Arjun that, okay, leave it to me, right? Or come with full Shraddha to me. The part I like about it is that, yes, it applies to us, but once you do that, it's not just one time. Now it's Krishna's job, and he does that with Arjun, that he becomes an accountability partner. So
Sure.
when you are living your life and you kind of move left or right, your path, he's there to pull you back. It's like,
Yes. I mean,
so
it's like a
it's an
guiding light.
ongoing kind of companionship.
Yes. And that's basically you are in union with Brahman. That's yoga.
Well, you are in union with Brahma is one thing, but when you are doing your actions, he's your sarthi. So,
Yes.
it's like
Yes.
he's your friend, he's your sarthi, he's your companion, he's your accountability partner. So it's much more than just surrendering. The moment you do that, you kind of become his buddy, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's like, if, as we have talked before, one of my friends, George Manning, he says, you are an average of 5 of your best friends. So if you have Krishna, it's heavy weight there,
Yeah.
So that's where I think the sixth chapter has really been good for us. It's good
Yeah. It's
understanding
a very, very
of our life. Yeah,
practical compendium of self-help and why we should do it.
it's great. And the whole emphasis is controlling the man.
Yep.
It's the controlling the man, practice, non-attachment. Abhyasena tu kaunteya vairagya cha. I'll read it again from the verse.
Yes, it's a very nice verse.
Yeah. Ashanshayam mahabaho manodurnigraham chalam abhyasena tu kaunteya vairagyena ch grihete.
Mamaka